Érase una vez un campesino, un joven muchacho de 16 años que vivía en un lugar precioso y silencioso, alejado del ruido de la gran ciudad. Hasta allí llegaron noticias terribles que hablaban de guerras, hambre, enfermedades, corrupción, que sucedía muy lejos de ese lugar. El corazón del campesino se estremeció. ¡Qué pena! ¡Qué pena! ¿Cómo me gustaría hacer algo? Pero una persona sensata le dijo: tranquilo, tranquilo, el problema te viene grande, tú no puedes hacer nada. Lo único que tú puedes hacer es quejarte, enfadarte y buscar culpables. Sí, la culpa de esos problemas es de los poderosos, los gobernantes, los ricos, las multinacionales, pero tú solo eres un campesino, tú dedícate a sembrar semillas. Y el campesino pensó: exacto, tienes razón, eso es lo que voy a hacer, voy a sembrar una semilla. El campesino labró la tierra, enterró la semilla, la regó, la abonó y la semilla lentamente, en silencio, sin llamar la atención de nadie, se transformó en un árbol que después dio fruto, del que surgieron nuevas semillas que se transformaron en un bosque que dio a comer a millones de personas en todo el mundo. Parece un cuento, pero es verdad. El campesino se llama Magnus, vive en Escocia. Su bosque se llama Mary's Meals, las comidas de María. Magnus hizo algo, meterse en un buen lío, y por eso vamos a contarlo.
Bienvenidos a Escocia. Al contemplar este paisaje, me siento como si hubiera logrado traspasar las páginas de un antiguo libro de leyenda y pudiera moverme como un personaje más. Mis pies caminan sobre una gran alfombra húmeda de pastos verdes que tan pronto se hunden hasta lo más profundo de un lago como ascienden vertiginosamente hasta la cima de las montañas. Se comprende que este paisaje de ensueño haya engendrado un sinfín de personajes mitológicos, como sirenas, fantasmas y criaturas legendarias, siendo la más famosa entre ellas el monstruo del lago Ness, a quien muchos aseguran seguir viendo hoy. Pero no he venido hasta Escocia para encontrarme con ninguna criatura misteriosa, sino con un campesino de carne y hueso llamado Magnus. Me han contado que su aspecto es tan sencillo que nada invita a sospechar que se trate de un ser especial. Sin embargo, la apariencia engaña. Porque Magnus MacFarlane Barrow, un hombre tímido que disfruta de la soledad, el silencio y la naturaleza, es en realidad un guerrero, un pequeño héroe capaz de enfrentarse a gigantes colosales para salvar a millones de personas en todo el mundo. ¿Será verdad?
Hello, how can I help you?
Could I have one beer?
Yes, sure.
Thank you. Sorry, is that Magnus MacFarlane?
Yeah, he's a man.
Great to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Magnus, how come it be that in such a quiet place you've made such big noise?
Well, actually, I suppose the first part of the story is right here in this pub, unexpectedly. Not like this sunny day, dark winter's night, 1992. I'm sitting here, right here, I think, with my brother. We were young men then, early 20s, and we often would spend our evenings here. And this particular night, we were feeling quite emotional because we'd watched this news report about the war in Bosnia that was taking place at that time. The war was at its height, and there'd been this report about how refugees were suffering around a place called Medjugorje, which is somewhere we'd been many years before. And we started saying to each other, wouldn't it be great if we could just do something to help? And we started saying, like, maybe we could just collect stuff that they need, food, clothing. And 3 weeks after that conversation here, we found ourselves driving this old Land Rover across Europe and delivering the things there. Never did it cross my mind that this would be anything more than just trying to do one good thing. I just planned to come back at the end of that week and go back to the fish farm. But that's when things got really surprising. Because when I came back at the end of that week, I'd asked my father if I could borrow his shed. He's got one nice shed. Could I borrow that maybe for a week just to store all the food and clothing in? So when I came back, having delivered it, it was full to the roof of goods. Like, people just kept on turning up. Like, there were queues literally of cars turning up at our house, people giving all this, just giving these gifts. I suddenly realised it was going to be a lot harder to stop this than it had been to start. So that's when I really began praying about it, and I gave up my job, and I sold my house. I had a small house, and somebody gave me a truck. And I just said to God, I'm going to keep doing this. It didn't feel like a huge life-changing decision, because even when I said that to God, I didn't think I was going to be sitting here 30 years later speaking to you about this incredible... And actually, I love that about God. Certainly in my own life, I've had this experience of God that's been very gentle, just asking for one little step at a time. Because if back then God had said to me, this thing's going to happen and you're going to have to travel all over the world and you're going to have to speak to lots of people, I would have run away and hidden, I think, you know. So I love God for being so gentle with me. It's just He asked me to do one small thing and I said yes. And then He asked me to do another small thing and I said yes. I suppose it was like the start of this adventure, you know, and I think as a young man that was deep in me. I wanted an adventure. And I think sometimes we have this idea, I notice with young people, we can have this idea that to be fully Christian means to live some kind of boring life. Like, to follow Jesus is like a boring choice. And it's actually the opposite, isn't it? Like, when you say yes, this big adventure starts. And that's certainly what's happened to me, and it's never stopped. So basically, I found myself driving almost constantly back and forth for the first year. I think the first year I drove 22 times to Bosnia, so I was almost living in the truck. I suppose I maybe just had, first time in my life, I felt this very strong sense of purpose. You know, maybe I can do this, maybe I can make a difference.
Y así fue como una pequeña semilla plantada por un joven valiente en este rincón de Escocia germinó y creció mucho más de lo que cualquiera podría imaginar, hasta dar fruto abundante muy lejos de estas tierras.
And what happens between that day you come back from Bosnia and you find the shed full of things and the day where Mary's Meals appears?
Well, that was a 10-year journey. We founded the first organisation called Scottish International Relief to administer all that work with the trucks. And then we started getting invited to do other things. For example, building homes for children who were HIV positive in Romania. That was an amazing experience. It changed my life, actually. And when I think back on it now, it was like this school. Like, I didn't think about it that way at the time, but we were just learning, constantly working with the very poorest people and understanding what worked and what didn't work. Welcome. Yeah, so this is the place I was telling you about where all that food came in 1992. It was like full to the roof, and I never thought I'd still be working in it. 30 years later, become the global HQ of Mary's Meals. 2002 came, and terrible famine that year, southern Africa, especially Malawi, and so that became the next place we were invited to go. I'd never been to that part of Africa at all, and we were just doing very simple emergency feeding projects, taking food into villages where literally people were eating like the leaves of trees and the roots of trees to survive. And so it was very simple, and while we were doing that work, I was staying with a local parish priest, and one morning he said, "Magnus, would you like to come with me when I go to visit the sick people in my parish?" And so we got to the first home, and he explained the father of this family had just died and the mother was now dying. And we went in her home, and she was called Emma, and she was just lying on the floor, and she had her 6 children sitting around her, and she was in agony. She had HIV/AIDS. She didn't even have the possibility of a painkiller, let alone medicine to treat her illness. And she said, there's nothing left for me now except to pray that someone's going to look after my children. And it was horrible. She was really panicking about that. And then I was talking to her oldest child sitting beside her, and he was called Edward. He was 14 years of age. And at one point when we were talking, I said, Edward, what's your hope? What do you want in life? And he said to me, I'd like to have enough food to eat, and I would like to be able to go to school one day. His answer just really hit me, but his answer that day really made me think about that in a new way, like about that horrible cycle of poverty that means that hungry children miss their education and then they're trapped in poverty for life, and so it goes on, their children after them. And that's really one of the things that made us start thinking about, we could break that cycle just by providing one meal every day. It would meet the immediate need of a child like Edward, but it could change everything if it also brought them into school. It was the words of a child that really ignited this whole Mary's Meals thing, and I love that.
Cuando Magnus conoció las carencias de la población en Malawi, no se conformó con un sentimiento estéril de pena e impotencia, sino que salió de su zona de confort dispuesto a meterse en un buen lío. Ya se había atrevido a luchar contra los gigantes de la guerra, la pobreza y la enfermedad en Bosnia y en Rumanía. Ahora estaba dispuesto a luchar contra el monstruo del hambre, que devora tantas vidas humanas en uno de los territorios más pobres del mundo, Malawi. A primera vista, este campo de batalla es desolador, porque lo que en tantos países nos resulta normal, aquí es extraordinario o incluso desconocido. Me refiero al agua corriente, la electricidad, los medicamentos. Tampoco abundan los coches, los zapatos, los juguetes y sobre todo escasea lo más necesario para vivir, la comida.
Hello! Hello! Where are you going?
To school.
Can I join you?
Yes.
Let's go!
Yes.
My name is Carlota, and you?
Samuel.
And your name?
Susan.
Susan.
This is a remote area, and we have different types of people. Others can afford breakfast, and others cannot.
Amadzuka kuno sadya china chilichonse amapezeka ukadya chani chakudya pamene chakudya cha mama wathu nchosowa. Ndi amapezeka kuti akapita ku sukulu kudya mwina mwana wagona ndi njala amakapezeka amene kudya ndi aphala.
When you haven't eaten anything since morning, your stomach had this crazy sound. You know, everyone would be laughing. Like it was a joke, but then it was something very terrible. Yeah, sure.
En los países desarrollados, cuando falta sal a la comida, nos quejamos. Aquí le falta de todo, pero tienen serenidad, alegría y fe. Por eso me pregunto, ¿quién es más pobre? ¿Ellos o nosotros? Para afrontar con éxito la guerra contra el hambre, Magnus no se rodeó de políticos, economistas ni militares, sino que formó un ejército de voluntarios cuyas únicas armas eran la fe y el amor. La estrategia no podía ser más sencilla: hablar poco y amar mucho.
I think there was 3 very important things at the beginning. So one was, if this is really going to work, it has to be owned by the local community, not by us. So we had meetings in the villages and we said, look, we've got this idea, this provision of one meal every day in a school, but we'll only go forward if you are willing to take responsibility and volunteer your time to do the cooking and all the work involved. And immediately the people said, yes, this is what we want. So our responsibility is as an organisation, we'll buy the food, we'll bring it to your school, and we'll train you on how to do this the right way. And then our job is also then visiting the school twice a week. One of our team will go to the school and check everything's okay. But then all of the daily work is done by the local community.
We have an army of 40,000 volunteers who have made it possible for our work to be done, to be delivered, for the children to be fed. These are men and women who wake up every day in the morning, making sure that the children's porridge is ready.
I want to know, why did you become a volunteer here for Mary's Meals?
Chabwino, ineyo, mwana, amatha kuchoka kunyumba, mwina osadya china chilichonse, komano ndikubwera kuno ndikupeza chokudya. Nde ine chinandipasa chilimbikiso choti ndikhoza kulowa nawo chani, ndikhoza kulowa nawo bungwe limene lili kuti ndikhale otumikira ku bungwe limene lili.
The very first day we were told that you have to go with your cups to the kitchen and receive the porridge. Everyone was amazed. Everyone was happy. The whole school was very happy.
And then the second thing was about the food itself. We wanted to buy it locally as much as possible to help the local economy, to support the local farmers. So that became a dish called Lukuni Pala.
The porridge that we get from Mary's Meals is a very nutritious, healthy porridge. That is a Lukuni Pala, which is mixed with the vitamins, which is done with soya, which has got a taste of sugar in it that the kids love so much. And that porridge is such an important meal for the children.
Cheers!
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 And then the third thing was the name, Mary's Meals. We gave this work to Mary, the mother of Jesus, and we said to her, as a mother who was once a refugee herself, show us how you would like us to do this.
And did she teach you how to feed?
Yes, and I think she continues to, and I think she's praying for us in heaven that I can't explain, you know. But it feels to me very deeply that it's her work.
As a mother with a child. Gracias a la receta sencilla de Mary's Meals, el primer objetivo está conquistado y puede comprobarse a simple vista. Los niños llenan su estómago y se cargan de energía. Pero esa comida tiene un efecto secundario inmediato, porque con el estómago lleno ya pueden asistir a clase, dispuestos a llenar también sus mentes. La fórmula es todo un clásico. Mens sana in corpore sano.
Maths and food go together. When a person is hungry, you cannot hear anything about maths. You just look at the teacher and you be like, what is he doing? Or what is she doing? You are doing nothing. No one learns on an empty stomach. You know, now I'm a teacher and I know all that.
As a teacher, you can easily see that this child is hungry. This one has a full stomach. Those who are with something in their stomachs, they are very, very active. And all the activities, they participate so well.
For example, right before this program, before 2007, learners were having difficulties to be selected to national secondary schools. We are having 1, sometimes 0, but as I am saying, we can have even 50 learners selected to different secondary schools every year. For example, because learners pay more attention as the lead teachers deliver their lessons. Why? Because they are energetic, because they have eaten the what? The porridge. So Mary's Meal is helping us a lot indeed.
At the moment, we are feeding 1,070 schools, reaching out to 1.1 million children in 24 districts of 28 districts in the country. And my dream is by 2030, all the children in primary schools in Malawi should have a Mary's Meal.
Do you think kids have a sense of how important education is?
They know. Most of them would be asking me, teacher, you said that you've been here before. You said that you have been eating this porridge. How did you come to be a teacher? I was coming here every morning, eat porridge, go to class, concentrate. Here I am.
Mary's Meal is like an answer to this community. At times they go in class and they learn, they're getting something as well. So as they grow, it will happen that the community has a lot of educated people. They will change the community.
Since we started getting the porridge, it has been just amazing, because what has happened is that the children have been coming to school on a daily basis. That's a big thing. And because these children are from the most underprivileged homes, but to see them enter college, to see them graduate, and to go out into the world and be who they want to be is to raise a child.
My dream is I want to be a doctor.
I want to be a soldier.
My dream was to become a lawyer, a doctor, bank manager, and become a doctor. I want to be a soldier.
Pero hay una victoria todavía más asombrosa, y es que la comida de Mary's Meals no solo llena los estómagos y las mentes de los niños, sino que ayuda a derrotar a uno de los monstruos más crueles de Malawi, el SIDA.
Here, today, out of the 400 and something children that we have here, 98% of them are orphaned by AIDS, a number living with HIV. One of the biggest problems and one of the biggest death rates among children who were taking ARVs is because they don't have food. They were malnourished. So really what Mary's Meals helped us a lot was definitely keeping the kids in school because they had a full belly. But then on the other hand, one of the most important things for that porridge was because when they take their medications, they're okay. And if you walk around the school today and you look at the kids, you will not know who's HIV because they're healthy. They're healthy because they're eating. Your child needs nutrition, your child needs medical health, and your child needs an education. And, of course, the most important thing for me is love. You love that child, and then voila. Everything works. One time we go for holidays and we came back and I said, "Are you happy to be back in school?" They're like, "Yes." And I'm like, well, when I was young, I didn't want to come back from my holidays. You know, I wanted to be home. And they're like, "Yes." And I'm like, "Oh, that's so nice. You're all happy to be back in school." "Yes." I said, "So why are you back? Why are you happy to be back in school?" And they all went, "Porridge." And I wish that Magnus could hear this.
What do you feel as the biggest satisfaction of all your work?
Like, first of all, I don't feel very satisfied, if I'm honest. I feel like we've just begun. Like, it's incredible we're feeding all those children, but there's far more children who are hungry today. My dream would be that every child in this world can eat a meal every day in their place of education. Because if that happened, everything else would start to change. The world's poorest countries would be transformed if every child was in school and getting a basic education and being fed. They would grow to become the people God created them to be, and things would change dramatically. That would be my dream. And it's not a crazy dream, that's possible. Like, we're not like waiting to invent some magic cure for hunger. Like, we know how to cure hunger. You know, we just need to get on and do it. It's just growing so fast. It's incredible when we look at this map, because what started here went to Romania, to Liberia, and then Mary's Meals was born in Malawi, grew from there, back to India, Kenya, or Haiti, Yemen, Ethiopia, South Sudan. We wanted to find out whether this would work in all those very different cultures and environments, and it did. We saw children coming to school for the first time wherever we did this because of the meals.
Actualmente, Mary's Meals alimenta cada día a 2,5 millones de niños en 18 países. Así podría terminar esta historia y sería un final feliz. Sin embargo, Magnus cree que esto no ha hecho más que empezar.
There's over 60 million children who are out of school today because of hunger. So the problem's enormous, isn't it? Well, there's more than enough food in the world, much more than enough food in the world for all of us, and there's a possibility for us to produce much more. So I remember when we began Mary's Meals, sometimes I would express this vision, that our vision is that every child in the world might at least eat one good meal every day in their place of education, and people would look at me like, he's crazy. And then, like, the older I get, I think it's much more crazy that even one child would go a day without food in this world of plenty.
Hi Callum. Hi Dad, how are you? Hi, good. How's it going? Yeah, not too bad. How'd the Colin Nets go? Yeah, it was really good. Yeah. Very.
So, if it only costs 22 euros to feed one kid all throughout 1 year, what could happen if governments, institutions, big companies would feed entire countries?
I think there is a risk, though, sometimes if we think, well, the government should do it, you know, or that big company over there should do it, you know, and we just point the finger instead of, yeah, that's true, but we could do it. Like, we could give the 22 euros and feed the child as well. So it's both, you know. Yes, we should encourage them to do it, but we can get on with it meanwhile. And I suppose that's this movement of people that support Mary's Meals. That's what they're doing. They're not waiting for the governments to do it. They're just getting on and doing it themselves. Could be more simple, one meal every day for a hungry child. And who doesn't want to do that? Who wouldn't want to feed a hungry child a meal? You know, and then on top of that, we see it works. We see what happens when the children eat that meal. Everything changes because they come to school. So Mary's Meals is this opportunity to do something that really changes lives.
I think, again, Magnus is a great person. He got an incredible faith He's got a very strong prayer life, and he just hands everything over to God. So, I mean, the whole thing is not to worry. If you worry, you're in trouble. You're trying to work it out your way, not God's way.
I'm not a person who feels a lot of fear about these things because I know it doesn't, in one sense, depend on me at all. Like, if I thought the 2.4 million children eating today actually depended on me, I wouldn't sleep a wink at night, but I sleep very well because it doesn't really depend on me. If we claim to be Christian and we're just making the same decisions as everyone else is making, I think there's something wrong there. I think we should be making different decisions than other people are making. Put God in the first place. Like, so if you're thinking about a big decision in your life, like, what is this honoring God? Is this putting God in the first place?
And how do you think God has used you?
I don't understand why he asked me to do this, because on the face of it, I'm the last person he should have asked to do this. I don't know how to do it. I really don't. I'm not qualified to do it, you know? And I felt that very much at the beginning. Like, at the beginning when this work started and people would ask me to come and give talks and things like that, I would hide. I would always have an excuse. So I'm busy, I've got to go and do something else. I can't come and speak to you. And my mum or my wife, Julie, would have to go and do the talks. And then I ran out of excuses and I had to do some public talks, and I was so scared, you know? And sometimes I just feel so small. Like, if I travel to a faraway country and meet these people I've never met before, and I discover what they're doing to support this mission, it makes me feel like I feel so humbled by them. Like, I mean, that's a very bad answer to your question, because I suppose what I'm saying is I don't really know why God's asked me to do this, and I can see the fruits of some of what I'm trying to do for him, but I still feel inadequate a lot of the time. I still have this sense of mystery about why me.
Magnus was the first to say he wasn't particularly designed for this work, but he feels God has planted this wonderful seed within him to do this very necessary work. And his motive is absolutely spot on. He doesn't rest until he can get every child that needs to be fed should be fed. You know, there's no end to it. Just keep on going and going, and he must feed as many as he can.
Yeah, it's a universal call. God definitely seems to like choosing unqualified people. We just need to look at the 12 apostles. Like, I don't think they would have done too well if he'd gone through an interview process and tried to tick all the boxes. They wouldn't have made it.
During the course of the work, I met this family and we were just having a chat over a pint. So Malawi, still by far the biggest project. So that was amazing enough.
Premio Princesa de Asturias de la Concordia 2023 a la organización sin ánimo de lucro británica Mary's Meals.
I got this award. It was like a strange thing. It was CNN Heroes, and I got invited to this very glamorous event in Los Angeles in this big theatre, and there was all these very famous actresses and actors there, and I had to make this 60-second speech, and the people at CNN were saying to me, like, you have to keep it exactly to the 60 seconds, don't talk about anything else, just say your thank yous or we'll cut the whole thing. And so I was praying about it before, and I had this conviction that I had to thank God and our Mother Mary in front of all these people. So I did. I just said, like, I just want to thank God for this, and I want to thank Mary, the mother of Jesus, for this work. And to my amazement, they didn't cut it, you know. And it was amazing how many people afterwards contacted me from different parts of the world and said, I saw that, and that was amazing, and I want to get involved in your work, you know. So I think so often when we're countercultural in that regard, when we're brave enough to speak of our Lord Jesus, people love that, even if they don't share our faith, because we're being authentic to ourselves.
I think we learn these lessons when we see somebody like Magnus doing this. We look at him and say, listen, if he can do it, why can't we do it? He is literally a lesson to all of us. You don't have to be Bill Gates to make a difference.
Abraham.
I hope he treated you better. What do you feel when you read the gospel of the multiplication of the fish and loaves?
You know, when I think of that kind of act of foolishness, of here's 7 loaves and 2 fish in front of all these thousands of people, like, I think we are called to be like that, like the little boy, or like St. Andrew, making that offering that isn't big enough to do anything meaningful. And in one sense it's like that. The truth is with Mary's Meals today, we don't know how we're going to feed all those children next month or next year. We don't have like guaranteed income. It comes through all these acts of generosity all over the world. So every day we're kind of saying, okay, God, we've got this little thing here. Can you do something with it, please, so that we can keep feeding the children? And he does, like over and over and over again all these years. He's never let us down. I could tell you like all sorts of miracle stories about how he keeps providing. So to me, I'm really glad you asked me that question, because I kind of feel like this work we do, it almost feels like it's an extension of that miracle. It's like a miracle like that in today's world, that God's doing this, and all we're doing is like making this inadequate little offering. But we are making our offering, that's all we can do. And then he takes our little offering and he makes it something wonderful, makes it something more than we ever could have imagined.
When you meet young people that are really full of the Holy Spirit and really believe that they can be used by God, then you see miracles happening and you can see it. That's the way the church is going to grow. People recognize this is a miracle, you know, of grace, and that in itself attracts people. Why is Magnus different from other charity leaders? It's because I don't do it for money, I don't do it for myself, I do it for God. I do it, you know, and I rely on providence and all. That is a completely different attitude to charity than 99% of other charities that are doing wonderful work, but they're not doing it for the same reasons that Magnus is doing it.
He could just miraculously feed those 2.4 million children today, but somehow he invites us in to participate in this miracle. And it's actually, in one way it's strange, I don't pretend to understand why, but it's a beautiful thing that he asks us to be part of his providence. I go back now to a country like Malawi and I'll meet young people who'll say, I never would have gone to school without Mary's Meals. I might not be alive without Mary's Meals. And like there they are in university or paid employment, or they've started a business, and you know that meal we served changed it, like changed everything for them. So yeah, you see the fruits, you see them having families now, you see that change through the generations that's going to happen because of that. So yeah, so many fruits. God's made us in his image and likeness, and I think so often, like we've all got this hole inside of us that where God should be, you know, and so often we're looking to fill that in the wrong places, aren't we? We're looking for things, money, experiences of different sorts. It never satisfies us. And I see so often with people who've worked so hard to accumulate great wealth that they haven't found that thing that satisfies them at all, you know? And then those people that have learned to give, they are finding that thing, that sense of meaning, that discovery of just how wonderful they actually are, like how incredible we are, you know, as human beings, that God made us that way, that we would do that we would share with people that we don't even know because we love them.
Y colorín colorado, esta historia verdadera no ha acabado, porque ahora podemos dejar de ser espectadores y convertirnos en protagonistas. Para eso producimos esta serie titulada Hagan lío, para comprometernos a vivir de fe, al servicio de los demás sin esperar a que otros lo hagan.
La continuidad de la misión depende de cada uno de nosotros. Súmate al equipo de Hagan Lío y haz que no pare esta fiesta. Gracias.
Okay, I'm talking to you. I think God's got a plan for you. I think God's got a plan for everyone. And I really encourage you to say yes to it. Not to think that it's up to other people to make the world better or to do something different. This world desperately needs all of us to say yes, to get out there, to make a mess, to make a noise, to be bold. The world's crying out for that, and it needs you. It needs you to play your part in that. And all of us can do something. Every single one of us can do something to make this world better. So please, say yes. Get up and out and do it.